General Grievous. I wonder if he gets like if he goes to CVS in space and gets like decongestion.
All right, shut up. Shutting up, sir, is the...
Oh, I didn't make the cold open? I was trying to be funny for the cold open. No, that keeps, and you're keeping everything. I don't get to be on every week. I want to be in the cold open this week. That stays. Now run the logo.
Welcome back to Scoundrels Inc., another Star Wars podcast. One of the many you'll probably already listened to. I'm Frank, that's Kevin, that's Brandon. Hit subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. We're going to talk about some of our Jedi Survivor story thoughts. We're going to talk about that Freddie Prinze Jr. clip that y'all can't stop bitching and moaning about. And then Heir to the Empire, is that Dave Filoni's new title of his movie? And then the WGA strike and how it affects Andor, Mandalorian, and every other Star Wars production in the pipeline. This and more on Scoundrels Inc. Now can we hit the title, Kevin? But Kevin, what have you been up to in Star Wars land? Like, what you been watching, what you been reading, what you been playing?
Man, I toiled away at freaking Jedi Survivor for at least 3.5 hours.
Hunting for all those videos.
Stolen valor, dude. Let me tell you. In the Star Wars world, like, honestly, it's been a very, very hectic couple weeks, actually. So, Visions, we watched Visions, which I'm not familiar. Oh, it's going to be on Monday, I'm guessing, if you're doing the old school way of doing it.
Yeah.
So we talk about Visions. We already talked about it, so
look out for that on Monday, our Visions discussion. Yeah, on Monday.
Yeah, and as far as my Star Wars watch through goes, it's been so long, I probably have to start from scratch.
Oh my
again.
gosh, I totally forgot you're even doing that.
Yeah, it's like I did that false start, and now I like broke my ankle, so now I'm gonna want to go back and like do it again. So I just gotta, make sure I have 8 or 9 months carved away for that. But other than that, like oh yeah, I guess with KOTOR, like we're doing some pretty fun stuff over there, which I don't really get into too much, but having a little fun doing a re-edit of the first movie that I did. But just because I want to help the algorithm out with the channel and get some releases. So to be honest, it's for nefarious reasons, probably Sith-like reasons. Yeah. But also something I've always wanted to do, like just when I've been hitting the gym pretty hard lately and hearing so much music that like I've been making these cultivated. Dude, Frank, I got to send you my other playlist. I got 70s, 80s, I got 2000s now. I made them. I made a 90s. Have you liking the 90s one? I never heard back from you, bro.
I've listened to my own. I have my own 90s mix.
I made you a mixtape.
You did not make me a mixtape.
You don't even reply. Wow.
You got any jizz on there?
It's gonna be Star Wars with literally like classic rock music, and we're making fun. We're kind of making it a play on Guardians of the Galaxy. So already the fans' response has been pretty fun about it. So that should be a fun way to experience it for the first time, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, that's Brandon, my Star Wars music.
Brandon, what have you been up to?
Oh, and sorry, I'm on the Jedi way now too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, officially, but yes, you've been on there.
I had been on, and then they asked me to be a permanent member, which I was like very honored to do. And the fans over there have been gracious, like a lot of new followers, and like it's great because honestly, and I told this to the fellas, which have been nothing but supportive for me, is I'm still being able to continue doing this show when I can, and hopefully it gets a lot of new eyeballs on this show, because you guys deserve it. So, yeah, it's been really fun there and talking Star Wars. So, the Jedi Way on John Roca's channel. So, yeah, should mention that for sure.
Brandon.
Well, I'm super excited to talk about the plot to Jedi Survivor because I read all about it on the Wikipedia summary.
There you go.
You got to watch the 3-hour video I sent you.
And that's probably about it in the world of Star Wars.
Not true. Not true.
No, I watched half an episode of
No,
Rebels.
you're too shy. This guy working in space, he started his first week today. Can't tell details why, and I swear to God, like, it's really happening. He's really working on something pretty
There's literally a guy off camera with guns to our head.
Yeah.
We can't say anything. We say one more on word.
Drop down here right now, and or see what we got here now. It's cut off here.
Yeah.
Drop down here and like pull me out like Batman Skyhook style. But yeah.
But yeah, well, no, I did get a job in the space industry. Very exciting. And I'm excited that Kevin is excited for me.
I'm more excited than you are, bro.
No,
I
I
asked
just
him today. I quoted
highly
Darcy
planning.
Lewis, and I said, "Hey, how's space?"
No, I'm very excited, but I gotta keep it professional, you know. Like I gotta act like I belong, you know. Like
You're
when
on
you
the
score a
wrong show,
touchdown,
buddy.
you score a touchdown, you don't like freaking like go nuts. You just like, yeah, I do this every day, man. That's all I
Okay.
do is score
Okay.
touchdowns.
Okay. As for myself, I finished playing Jedi Survivor, finished the game, finished playing it. I beat it on the Jedi Knight difficulty level. That was tough for me, guys out there. Okay, look, I'm not. Sean's playing it on Jedi Master. Alex Damien's playing it on Jedi Grandmaster. That's insane.
Oh
But
my God.
What's
I
the
beat it on
easiest one? Story mode.
story mode. Yeah, I think it was
That would
story, Padawan, and then Jedi Knight. Yeah. So,
Damn. So
anyways. I had a
there's really
ton of
Grandmaster, like in real, but like in the actual Jedi Order, like Grandmaster is not just like that's like a real title you have to earn.
He's a Jedi rapper, actually. Grandmaster Jedi. Like,
Oh wow, okay.
Grandmaster Flash?
Like,
Come on.
yeah,
what?
yeah, I know.
Like, is there a ceremony? Like, I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Just go with that.
There is. It's a whole thing. They gotta. I can't tell you, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you off air. I'll tell you off air. I can't.
Hey, you know what, Brandon? It's in the Logan verse, guy. I'll show you. It's in the Logan verse, guy.
So yeah, I've been playing Jedi Survivor, and I've beaten the game, but now I've gone back, and I did a stream doing some of the bounty hunter missions, which have been fun. And then last night or the night before, I finished up the second half of those missions off stream, but now I'm at the the very last part of the bounty hunter missions, which I do plan to stream again. So a little bit more on that.
I was going to ask you, because when you had finished it, I saw when you had finished it, and you saw in the credits, it was like, wait, Boba? You sounded like Han Solo from Return of the Jedi. You were Boba Fett.
Yeah, spoiled it in the credits. I was like, son of a... But anyways,
if you did it my way, you would have known. I watched it. And
was that part in your cut or no? I doubt it because
it wasn't. I was
going to say it'd be weird if it was because it's not part of the central storyline.
Yeah, they kept it. They did some side stuff, but yeah, they kept it pretty. But I did. I had heard that he was in it, and then I found it that way. So
you found it? Okay.
I did. I put in the hard work, Frank. I put in the extra 20 minutes to do it.
Okay.
I got to give you props.
I did not read about Boba Fett on the Wikipedia summary.
I remember when I was out with cancer, I had dreams of turning my channel into like a game streaming, like video game / Star Wars, like everything, multi-purpose thing that I remember telling you guys about. But after seeing Frank do a stream and it was like 9 hours, and I'm like,
that was the last one I did to beat it. Yeah.
And I would stroll at the beginning and then see like time pass behind you, and then like your face slowly get more and more disheveled. I'm like, I don't know how you did it, bro. Like, so all the props in the world for you, too.
So the reason it took 9 hours was because it took me 3 hours to beat the final boss. I won't give any spoilery thoughts just yet. We'll get to that in a little bit. But it took me 3 hours to beat the final boss. I played 3 other bosses in that stream. And it was just a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone who tuned into my live streams and chatted with me and helped keep my spirits afloat during some tough times in the game. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. But also, I did mention last week on the solo show that I was trying to get through Battle Scars. I went through half of it. And then I had a bit of a drive one day, and I put on the audiobook, and I realized I cannot listen to audiobooks in the car. I cannot do it. I try to listen through a chapter of Battle Scars in the car, and I can't pay attention enough to the words being said to me to where I feel like I'm understanding and comprehending what's being said. So I had to turn it off after like 10 minutes. I was like, I don't even realize what I just listened to. Is so bizarre. So I have to literally have earbuds in my phone, sit down at my desk, or just be still and just listen. I can't, for whatever reason, I can't even on a run, I can't do it. I can listen to podcasts in the car. I can listen to podcasts
on a run. Not my playlist I made you, but yeah.
But not the playlist. Brandon, I couldn't, for whatever reason, I just could not comprehend what was happening.
I just watch actual television.
While you just have to watch TV like Brandon. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Some other things that I was doing, I was starting to go through the first point of view book, a certain point of view, the Star Wars A New Hope book, because obviously the Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view book is coming out at the end of August, so I was kind of making my way through some of those books. And that's kind of been about it. And then I went back home over the weekend, back to Chicago, so didn't have too much going on Star Wars wise. But with all that said,
not even on the plane. You couldn't even do it on the plane.
I was watching Ted Lasso. I was catching up on Ted Lasso actually on the plane.
I've heard of
even
that
said, I when I fly, I basically sleep the entire flights. All the flights.
Yeah,
every time. Like, well, I'm so used. I've flown a lot in the past half decade now, decade or so, and I fall asleep as soon as we leave the gate. We're not even in the air. We're like taxiing to take off, and I'm already zonked out. I don't wake up till the in-flight beverage cart's coming down the aisle, and then even then, sometimes I miss it completely. One time, coming back from it was a Showdown event actually in New York, I slept the entire flight. Once I got on board the plane, I was so, I guess you'll say, tired from the night before. And
you got to sleep all the way, because Brandon and I didn't, because there was a fire in the back of our plane, and we had to reroute ourselves to Chicago. Remember that, Brandon?
Yeah, it was the coffee pot was like smoking.
If you Google it happens a lot on planes where they have to like reroute. But like, of course,
I don't know why they allowed that coffee pot to bring cigarettes on the plane first.
Or tampering with the smoking device. You can't do that.
So you guys are both going to be great dads.
So as soon as I got on the plane, I happened to have the whole row to myself, so I just like laid down a little bit, and I still had my seatbelt on, obviously, but I was like leaned over, just like, what is wrong with this person? And I did not wake up until we were getting ready to land in Chicago.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I missed everything. Like,
I in my party days, I had a flight from Austin back from California to Denver, and then Denver back to Austin. And at the airport, I met a girl, and we had some fun at the airport bar, hanging out. And then her and I on the plane, she sat kind of near me.
Did you have fun like Bix and Tim? Is that what you mean?
No, not that kind.
Hey, I'm saving that for later in the show.
We switched seats with someone so we could sit next to each other, and we boozed the whole time. So then, but she ended up in Denver, and then had to keep going. And then I had to go from Denver back to Austin. And so on that final flight leg home, I was just alone, and I had been drinking literally all day because our flight was delayed. That's how we got to know each other so well at the bar, that I passed out. And my next memory is being woken up. And this is how embarrassing it is. I was in the middle of the plane or near the front of the plane. And so all of a sudden I wake up, and it's the maintenance guy. The plane had been completely cleared. They were cleaning the plane up. They were about to call security. I was so passed out, which means everybody on that plane saw a passed out like this against my chair. Just must have just been having a field day with that.
I would have took a picture of you
before the days of going viral, because that could have gone. That could have been a social media viral event.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. All right, so let's get into
these on-topic stories about Star Wars. It's great.
Yeah, it was great. Jedi Survivor. So it's just because we're gonna do a whole nother episode when Sean comes back. We'll do a whole nother like complete breakdown, but some spoiler-free thoughts on the overall story now that I've played through the whole thing. The story didn't really pick up for me until about halfway through. But even though, with that said, I was still enjoying the story, enjoying where the journey was going. There's some High Republic tie-ins and stuff that was very fun. There's some issues with Cal in terms of balancing the light and the dark and giving into certain things and whatnot. And there's certain things that go on with Marin and Seer. And there's a surprise comeback. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that is happening in the story. It just didn't really grip me as much as Fallen Order. That's not to say I don't enjoy Survivor Story. I certainly do, because I most especially enjoy where Cal is at in this story and his journey during this time period. But the overall story didn't really grip me as much as Fallen Order did, if that makes sense. I love where Cal's at, but the overall story, the thing that's going on, didn't grip me as much. But I do love the character development of Cal and like his journey. So that really, I don't want to say saved it for me, but that's what I gravitated towards most in this story. And I love the fact that the way it ends, it's like they made this game, this story, with, I'm almost convinced that they're like, we're making a third one. Like, this is not even near close to being done, because what happens in this game, this story, certainly is going to play a part, which I have to assume they're making a third one, or they're going to make a third one. I don't think that's confirmed yet, but it's like odds are, yeah, it's going to be a pretty successful game. The first one was. This one will be, if not already deemed a success. Then the third one will also be great. But Kevin, what is your takeaway of the story overall from your 3.5 hour cut that you found?
Yeah, it was really struggle. It was just trying to stay up, and it was a real struggle. No, it was great.
You should have streamed yourself watching
Empire
3 hour cut.
Just a 3 hour of me watching.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny because I could tell you weren't as invested as I thought you'd be. Because since I knew the big moments, I would go to your streams after you recorded them, and I would scroll. Past, your boss battles took a long time to scroll. To be honest,
I put time codes in there for that reason.
All right, thank you for your time codes. I think I was doing it right after you posted it, or it would be like a couple hours after you did. But yeah, when I would find the big moments and like wanting to see your reactions, and they weren't as it would be like the audience test reactions where I'm like, oh, he's not reacting as positive. There's a couple moments where you did, but like, yeah, I could tell that like. Mm-hmm. And when you finished your immediate thoughts, like I predicted that would be your thoughts, that like it wasn't as strong for you as Fallen Order, but yeah, it was really good. Like the tie-in, there's a tie-in to the Kenobi show. Like if we're not doing spoilers,
yeah, I think that one's fair, but don't mention where it comes from. I guess.
Yeah, what's that? I'll just say there's a great tie-in to the Kenobi show, and then the High Republic references are really cool too, and it's tough without spoilers because there's some big moments, but like I was hanging on that one big spoiler for a while, just so it was interesting to see how you reacted to that one. And, it's kind of difficult. I'm gonna have to wait till we have the total spoilery review episode, but I implore everybody to. I feel like a lot of those, the ending was very like watching it after 3 hours was like you or 3.5 hours, whatever it is. You feel invested already because you'd spend that much time. And so I can only imagine what it's like when you invest a lot of hours into it, that feeling. I can also think that everything's heightened. So if you really love it, you probably really love it. But if you were disappointed, it's like, fuck, I spent all these hours and it kind of felt like a lead balloon, So I am excited to see where they take it. I thought that they did a good job of not overstuffing it with cameos and planets that you're familiar with. I feel like am I wrong that it was like every planet was new? Like there was not a single.
I mean, you go back to Jeddah and you start off on Coruscant. I don't think any of that's spoiler stuff, but
that was Are you sure that wasn't Coruscant? Wasn't that another planet?
They go to Coruscant.
You start on Coruscant.
Yeah, that was a great opening. It reminded me of the opening of Arkham. The Arkham games would have an opening like that too, where Joker was being led from like the police van all the way. I forget what game for that was, but it's like it almost feels like this interactive, like a ride. Like if they had Cal Kestis the ride at Disneyland, it would be that opening where you're just behind him and he looks. Oh yeah, you're right. The Coruscant. He sees the Jedi Temple. I'm stupid. Yeah. Look, it's been a long day, but I think that I'm just never going to be able to play. I have the Xbox Series X, and I play Adventures in Disneyland with my daughter mostly, and she sees Paw Patrol on there and wants to play Paw Patrol. So I still have a sealed Harry Potter game that I haven't gotten to, a sealed golf game, sealed NBA game. Like,
good luck.
So eventually I'll get to them, but right now, great story.
Has the story that you witnessed or watched, would it make you want to? Are you curious enough to go back and read or listen to Battle Scars, that led up to this game, Survivor,
to see how they got to that first scene, right from the ending of Fallen Order? Yeah, I think that would be fair. Or I'd pull a Brandon and probably read the Wikipedia.
No, because I mean, like that's the bottom line. This story.
Brandon, did you read the Wikipedia in the car ride over too? So like while you were driving, that would be on brand. Oh, that's right. You didn't drive anywhere. Never mind.
That's why I thought it was a funny joke, Kevin. Because why would he drive over?
Can you cut that out, Brandon, and just do like a wipe? Star Wars.
Absolutely not. But I will say I love these characters so much after 2 games and half the book that I've read. But I really love these characters a lot, and I hope there's more to do with them besides game number
Could
3.
I ask you a question that might be spoilery? Do you remember when a big moment happened and you said, "Ooh, that's not a good sign for her"? Do you still believe that in the later? Do you remember saying that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yes.
You still think that's going to spell certain
100%.
doom?
Yes.
Wow.
It has to. It has to.
Don't make me cry, bro. I already cried.
I'm not
from
trying
Ted
to.
Lasso.
I thought it was going to happen in the game, and it didn't. But there's still time for in the third game. Anyways, Brandon, from what you perused on Wikipedia,
On the corner of Sepulveda and the Santa Monica.
Yeah, overall, the story didn't seem maybe as compelling as the first game. It definitely felt kind of like a middle movie where it was like it set up some interesting ideas, but I would like to see them explored further, and maybe paid off in some bigger ways. But so yeah, overall, I was like, okay, there's some cool stuff in here, but the overall synopsis of the story anyway didn't really grab me in any particular way, except for, like I said, a few cool setups to some things that could pay off down the road.
It's because you read the Wikipedia. I mean, I shouldn't talk. I didn't play the game. Watch the 3-hour thing.
Yeah, but the basic, like, nuts and bolts of it all are the same.
You don't see the emotion, pal.
Well, I think that's fair.
I
think you should probably give the 3.5-hour cut a shot. Because I want to do that as well, because when it takes me, 30 hours, whatever, more than that, I think, to play the game.
Of the Snyder cut for Frank, it's the 60-hour cut.
But when you have that much, time in between story beats and points and whatnot throughout playing a game, I am curious now to consume the story in a 3.5 hour, 4-hour cut, whatever it's going to be, or whatever cut I find. To experience it that way, that would be.
I'm sure there's better cuts out there. I would say, from my experience, if you find one that's like a 5-hour, 6-hour cut, you probably get stuff like the Boba Fett thing. But ideally, like if you found one, I wish I could find one that was more like 2.5 hours, and I'm sure they're out there now.
Yeah,
because there was just some things, but that it's like well, that's could probably cut that down.
True. All right, so let's get into some other news, other tidbits that were floating around the interwebs the past week and a half or so, 2 weeks. And let's start off with a great one in terms of Freddie Prinze Jr. saying he is done playing Kanan Jarrus. This was from an interview on the Christian Harloff channel, the Big Thing podcast show. Yeah, Christian Harloff, good dude. But Freddie Prinze Jr., said that he's done playing the character, that any more appearances dilute the impact of Kanan. And Kevin, what did you think about his comments in terms of he's saying he's done playing Kanan? What did you think about this?
It went from like respect, like he was wanting to protect the Kanan, right? And he said it went from that to like near the end where he's like, plus, but they have sex in Star Trek, not Star Wars, where it really made me feel like something was happening with his exit. It's weird that like you'd kind of burn the place on your way out. And he was doing that a little bit, which I thought was just a little weird. Because I've seen his interviews where he's really passionate about Star Wars and passionate about like, hey, dude, I learned something from one of his quotes. It was pretty cool about the Force. If Sean would love it, talking about how he's heard from George Lucas himself that it was never the skill. Freddie Prinze goes off about like video games, how it's tainted the Force, and that's not how it is. That the Force always decided the victor, and that's why Palpatine knew that if he were to kill Anakin, that the Force would correct itself. And so that he would groom Anakin and train Anakin to be by his side instead of getting rid of his rival, because if he did, the Force would overcorrect it, right? So what's he do? He gets Anakin to be on his side, but what does the Force do then in response? Twins, right? The balance, right? And it's just really cool. And his thoughts on Maul, about how Maul is he was destined to fail. That was his lot in life. That was he was always the guy that's pushing the boulder up, that always the boulder keeps falling down the bottom of the hill. And even though subconsciously he probably knows it, he still presses on thinking he can get that boulder to the top of the hill. Great stuff, right? But then he just comes around and then he just like, I get it. Like, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like, oh, wow, I was asked to be in Star Wars Episode 9. Like, but again, if you're protective of the character, like, yeah, like why would Kanan be talking, right? Like, that's not how it works. That's not how the Force works, right?
Right.
So I was a little bummed that he kind of burned it a little on the way out, which makes me think that maybe because he even said like, "Oh, I've given them too many favors. The favors are done," which is like, oh yeah, it's just kind of weird. It reminded me a little bit of John Boyega, but you never say never in Star Wars, right? Because Boyega has been rumored to be coming back for the Rey movie, but you never like to see when someone kind of is, even with like athletes when they leave a team. Sometimes when they disparage the team they came from, it just kind of bums you out a little bit. So, but him like not returning to Kanan, that's fine. Very valid reasons. Like, why dilute it? So
yeah, I agree with you don't want to dilute the impact of Kanan's death by having him pop up here or there. I'm going to push back a little bit on the Rise of Skywalker. It's a culmination of the franchise at that point. It's a culmination of everything that's happened in the galaxy, and Kanan has become a pretty important Jedi figure in Star Wars lore, in my opinion. And so hearing his voice there, I thought, doesn't do anything to dilute Kanan's impact. It only reinforces the impact of his death, that because not every Jedi becomes one with the Force in death, and the fact that Kanan's voice could still be heard from, the Netherworld, right, I think serves as an impact of how much Kanan perhaps transcended in the afterlife, if you will. So
I mean the Netherlands. He was from the Netherlands. He was at Amsterdam at a smoke shop.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best line reads, I think. I
agree, because his is it stands out to me whenever I watch the movie, not just because I'm reading it in the subtitles, which I need to hear for everybody else. In
the theater right away, I was like, "That's Kanan," and I didn't even watch Rebels.
Exactly. But to the other thing that he said in terms of, no one gets laid in Star Wars. I know a lot of people are like, "Dude, your character has a kid in the."
That's funny.
The franchise, which it is funny, but like also. The type of conversations that Christian has on his show, sometimes they can get very tongue-in-cheek, and I feel like that was just kind of was kind of a byproduct of just how Christian is able to talk with people. It's a very laid-back setting, and you just kind of start. I'm not going to try and justify anything that Freddie says that people disagree with, but I'm not like so out of luck. I can't believe he said that. Blah blah blah. I'm not really going to get bent out of shape about it. I don't think you are either, Kevin. But it's just like. Look, Harrison Ford was like, dude, kill Han Solo. Like, I'm done with this already, right? And so he went through like a similar, I don't know if it's quite as, it's not apples to apples here, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes people in franchises that we adore, characters that we love, sometimes, because they've portrayed them for so long or are asked to keep portraying them, are like, I want to do other things. And as a creative type of person, sometimes you don't want to be known for just that one thing, or you're known for one or two things, and you kind of want to move on and do other things. And so sometimes I feel like it's possible that actors or directors, what have you, will say things that in the moment that's how they feel and how they feel truly, but down the line, look at Harrison Ford returns to Han Solo decades later, and you can see when he pops up at a celebration how much reference he has for the franchise and the character and what have you and everything that's come along with it. And I certainly still think Freddie's passionate about Star Wars. It's just sometimes, you can throw shade at something you love without it being such a nail in the coffin, if you will, of like, I'm done with this franchise.
You remember when I was announced to be on the Jedi way, I said, yeah, those guys in Scoundrels Inc. don't have sex anyway. So. You don't remember me saying that?
Brandon, what do you
how does it feel, Frank? How does it feel?
Listen, I only have one thing to say, okay? Nobody gets laid in Star Wars. First of all, talk to Tim, all right? Tim got laid. Maybe
and
Kanan
that Rancor too. The Rancor.
Maybe Kanan wasn't making a good enough cup of calf. Maybe that's what it was.
And you don't think people don't have sex? Yaddle and Yoda? Come on, how do you think Grogu showed up? Oh, everybody's
virgins in the Force guy.
Although it's kind of funny now that I think about it. Like, yeah, they don't. There's no sex in Star Wars. The main character of Star Wars was miraculously conceived without sex at all. That would have been funny if he brought up Shmi, but he didn't. So his fault, his bad, dude.
All right, so let's move on to some other, I guess, rumor. This heir to the Empire title of Dave Filoni's next movie was floating around Twitter. I saw a tweet and I saw like the source of it. It was like your mom's basement or something like that. I don't know what it was called, and it was like I don't know how much stock to put into this. If it's not coming from like Deadline or Variety or Jeff Snyder even, I'm like, I'm not gonna put a whole lot of stock into someone saying Dave Filoni's next movie is titled Heir to the Empire, and I go, first of all, that doesn't. I don't know, that seems. I'm skeptical, highly skeptical. Kevin, how do you feel about this quote unquote rumor? I don't even. Yeah.
Oh, I hope it happens. Listen, Infinity War, Secret Wars, Captain America: Civil War. Like, there are Marvel properties that had books, comic books, and movies came out. And trust me, Infinity War, I mentioned this on the Jedi Way today. Infinity War is about Thanos so in love with Mistress Death that he collects the Infinity Stones to please Mistress Death. It has nothing to do with wanting half the population. Captain America: Civil War, like, the completely different. Peter Parker takes his mask off and reveals his identity to the public in Civil War. Like, there's so many different things, right? So Heir to the Empire does not mean, oh, now Han, Leia, and Luke de-aged have to be in it, and it's going to be with Horace Seoboth and all that. Like, if they name the movie Heir to the Empire, and that's, for me, warms my heart. I read that in 1991 on an airplane while you were watching Ted Lasso, Frank, or before I was drinking with girls randomly in Denver. I was reading Heir to the Empire. Like, so if they give it in name, and it has nothing to do with that, but they name it that because Heir to the Empire was alluding to Thrawn in the books, and Thrawn's one of the villains in this movie, then all for it. People putting up in arms about it. It's like, need to remember, like, dude, World's Finest from DC coming out, that is based on a comic book. Like, so, and it's not going to be exactly like how every World's Finest came out. So, to me, I hope they call it Heir to the Empire. I hope, and I bet you it's not going to have, and I don't think fans are going to be let down that, like, no one was let down in Infinity War that Thanos wasn't in love with Mistress Death. And I don't think people are going to be let down that it's not to the T of the book. I think, if anything, people should be like, oh, that's cool. They're giving a shout out to a legendary name, to a legendary book that literally kept fandom alive from 1991 until 1997, 98, when the prequels were finally announced. That's what kept my spirit of Star Wars alive. And so, for me, I really hope that they name it Heir to the Empire. It would be fitting. It would be great. It's the Avengers level event in the Disney Star Wars universe. Give it a killer name like that. And I'm not worried about Mara Jade showing up or anyone. That's not going to happen. It's just why not use a name from that property? I think it would be really great. And I just hope, because network execs and TV execs, the way I work, they're so knee-jerk reaction, right? Trevorrow got episode 9 pulled from him because he made a bad movie in between Jurassic World and episode 9, and like, that's how quickly they'll turn on you, right? So I just hope that they don't freak out, and if that was the plan, now that it leaked, it's not going to be the plan anymore, because that would suck. Go Heir to the Empire.
It would surprise me if it's actually Heir to the Empire. It would surprise me that a title of Dave Filoni's movie could, quote unquote, leak years before this thing ever, sees probably pre-production at this point. It would be. I also, you say, people don't. Han, Leia, it doesn't mean Han, Leia, Chewbacca, this, that, and the other, is going to come back. There are people out there who see Heir to the Empire, and that's what they think immediately. They think about, oh, he's making an adaptation of Heir to the Empire. He's making an adaptation of Heir to the Empire, which there's no way he's absolutely doing that, because that has not been the MO of Disney Lucasfilm since Disney's bought Lucasfilm. They don't adapt any books, any comic to the screen. They plug things from Legends. They plug things, and like they did with Thrawn, right? They put him in Rebels, but he's not the same Thrawn as he was in the books, or in Heir to the Empire in that trilogy. He's not the same Thrawn. They've took other characters, right, and brought them into Mandalorian, like Pelion, right? Like he's plucked out of there, but I don't think he's going to have he might have similar characteristics, but it's not going to have these same storylines. So I think calling it Heir to the Empire would be a really weird move in my estimation. I feel like Dave would come up with something. Dave already has the title in his brain. I doubt it's been written down on a piece of paper, first of all.
It's probably called Error to the Empire.
R-R-O-R. That's right. I feel like Dave has a title for this time period in which the movie's going to take place in. And yeah, Heir to the Empire would fit this timeline, but I feel like with Ahsoka, it's going to be involved in this movie. Like, there's no way I can't see that happening. I feel like with the New Republic, Ahsoka, perhaps Mandalorians as well involved, and Thrawn, and potentially Ezra. That's my wild theory, is that Ezra will be actually rescued in this movie, whereas Ahsoka is the journey to find Ezra, and they still don't get him, but they get him in the movie. Anyways,
they're gonna pull a Force Awakens, and at the very end of the series,
maybe
show up with Ezra's lightsaber.
Maybe. But I don't know what you would call this movie, because I don't know what the movie's about. Just because,
what do you think, Brandon?
Just because Thrawn's in it doesn't mean you call it Heir to the Empire. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Brandon, what do you?
They should call it Heir to the Empire and have that rabbit guy, Jackson, whatever, be the main character.
Oh, you're doing hair, H-A.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You win the internet today. You need to post that. You need to.
Right, I think that's that
You're
character's
go
name,
with it.
Jax or Jackson or something like that.
Yeah, that rabbit.
But no, I mean, it's a good title for sure. I just like, from like a marketing perspective, I know like it's Star Wars, so you would think that anything Star Wars would sell. We've seen that's not necessarily the case when Solo kind of underperformed, but and that was a good title, Solo. Everyone knows Solo. Yeah. Maybe like I'd be surprised if they didn't like sneak the Mandalorian in there somewhere, like just call it The Mandalorian, a Star Wars story, or call it The Way of the Mandalorian.
I mean,
or Ahsoka and the Mandalorian, like
Mandalorian
like
Infinity War, the Mandalorian Endgame,
I like
Planet
The Way
Mandalorian. Yeah,
that's good. I'll take a check, Luke.
Knights of the Old Mandalorians. There it is.
There you go.
Motor. No, Coat. Never mind. Koton.
But
I got nothing.
I'm curious what the other audience thinks. Will it be Heir to the Empire? Or should it not be? Should it be that title? Let us know in the comments below.
Heir to the Empire.
And if you agree with Kevin, let us know. And if you
get off my lawn,
then get off his lawn if you don't. Anyways, so we went to the last topic before we get into the questions real quick. The WGA strike, and there's been a lot of talk about how it could affect Star Wars production. We know that Mandalorian's being delayed. We know that Andor is going to be seeing some delays because Tony Gilroy has stepped away, not only from writing, but producing as a whole. It's so much so to not blur the lines of writer-producer. He has stepped away from the production, even though I think they only have like a couple more months to go. They've been shooting for a while, Andor Season 2. But they only have, I think I read that they were going to shoot till August, so it's really iffy in terms of what's going to happen with Andor Acolyte as well, because those are UK-based productions, which they adhere to different rules, more or less, sometimes depending who you are, whether you're part of the WGA or not, and if you're a UK-based, someone who works in UK-based, you're not adherent to the WGA strike rules, so they could still work on the production. It's really unclear how much of that's going to be happening with Andor or Acolyte, because Acolyte I think still has a while to go for shooting or production at least. Even though Mandalorian season 3 or 4, even though all those have been written, from Favreau's confirmed he wrote all those scripts, he still can't touch anything if it needs a rewrite. Perhaps they can get into pre-production, but even then, if they want to redo something, they, Favreau or, Filoni, they can't touch anything. I don't know about Rick, how that works exactly, but Rick from you, that is, as a producer. Kevin, you're more in tune to the Hollywood production side of things, being an editor yourself. What can you say about this writer's strike from your purview and how it relates to Star Wars productions?
I mean, we were close to striking when I was an editor, or when I was right after when I came back from cancer and like I was editing again, like just finally getting my feet back. We almost struck, and I was ready to do it. And if you see the yearly salaries of some of these people that are heads of studios, like, it would make you sick that they don't want to budge even a little bit for the writers. And so if that means a delay in the Star Wars content for the foreseeable future, I'm fine with it. I think that's cool that like Tony Gilroy like stopped down, like that is full stop. Like, hey, I'm gonna support this. So he didn't need to do that. Like,
and by the way, real quick, he wrote the script for the final episode. So he's like, everything is done writing wise, and it like just made the finish line, if you will, for Andor to, I guess, do what it needs to do in post or finish shooting. So
yeah, I think for the strike though, like I hearing different things, man. I'm hearing that it could last, it could be over by the summer. I'm hearing it could be continuing into December even. So a lot of different analysts have different opinions of it, but I'm fine. There's enough Star Wars content out there for me to ingest whilst they handle their business out there on the picket lines.
The one thing I am actually kind of concerned about in terms of what does this mean for the production of the movies, because, you know, while they did not give any release dates for these movies at Star Wars Celebration, probably because they knew this writer strike was going to happen and that it was going to halt any type of work on these movies. We know that for the Rey movie, I forget the writer's name, something Knight, I think it was. He's, you know,
M. Night Shyamalan.
God, can you imagine? You know, Kathleen Kennedy had said he's a few weeks out from finishing the script, and this was like, you know, or a month and a half out from finishing the script, and this was only like a few weeks ago. So, is he in fact finished with the script or not? And what does that mean for the other two movies with James Mangold and I guess Dave Filoni, in a sense? I'm assuming he might have some stuff written for his movie. I can't imagine it's a completed script, but I think it would impact how much they can tackle in pre-production, because I think there's only so much you can do before you're like, well, we can't really go any further because stuff could change here from a writer's perspective, and that would mean we would just be doing unnecessary work that perhaps wouldn't be used. And so and as you know, studios love to save money any which way they can. So it's like, you know, which is why this strike is happening in to begin with. Or
Brandon's going to strike up. Brandon's going to strike Scoundrels Inc. because we're going past his heart out. We should do the Q&A.
I just came back from a diplomatic mission from Alderaan.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
No, I just want to like say that, you know, I stand with the WGA and I support the writer's strike 100%. And if it means we get no Star Wars for a while, it means we get no Star Wars for a while. I'm just gonna hate watch The Rise of Skywalker over and over again.
Here's the thing, Brandon.
No, I'm kidding.
Here's the thing. You could always watch Logan Star-Lord, bro, in the new KOTOR awesome mix.
I will say one last thing, though. With the writer's strike, we still have SAG and the DGA negotiations coming up. So right now we have a writer's strike. We could see strike from the Actors Guild, and we could see a strike from directors, possibly. I mean, those are real possibilities, right? Because they're all in solidarity with the WGA right now. Or at least
remember, you see that funny video of Fran Drescher being interviewed, and she's like, "Oh, we have different wants and needs. I'm not sure what we're gonna do." And then people behind him are like, "Actors support the writers," or something. Yeah. It was so funny. Like, I'm glad they got their act together. I hope they vote.
So just because we have this one doesn't mean this isn't the end. Like, this is gonna go on for, I think there's gonna be a lot of will this not happen for like the next year or whatever, because I think the actors don't start their negotiations till the end of this month or next month, it's soon. And it'll be interesting to see how then these other possible, I don't know if it's going to happen, but possible strikes could affect Star Wars productions further even more, as well as the entire industry. So it's all a big wait and see type of game. Anyways, all right, let's get into our Discord questions that we got, and let's see here. The first one we're gonna get to is from HEIR, and this is in regards to Jedi Survivor. He asks, "What direction do you think the Jedi games are going, and with Cal's exploration of the dark side?" Yeah, that's kind of a little. So I guess.
Hey, spoiler!
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. That kind of went over my head. I don't remember that. Maybe I was like half asleep during the 4 hour because I watched it at midnight that night. But I don't remember like him like. We're gonna have to talk about it during the spoiler episode. Like I don't remember him doing something so bad as like.
Well,
it's in the wiki synopsis, buddy.
There are some kills that you're just like,
Oh
and,
yeah,
and even Cal's like, Marin's like, and so at the end of the game in the final boss fight, you do have to make a decision, and there's it's not really a decision. It's just more or less this is what Cal's going through, and I don't think that's really a spoiler to talk about Cal is battling the dark side or the draw
Everybody
towards
does.
the dark side. Yeah, but I do think it definitely is setting up something for Game 3 where he's gonna have to really, because of what he's after in terms of slowing down the Empire. I think it will be interesting to see his mentality now that he's after the events of this game, where he is when you start Game 3, and like what kind of time jump you get between now and Game 3.
Calling it now. End of Game 3. Cal Kestis is Snoke.
Just when I thought we were going to have any mention of Snoke, here you are.
You know that's not happening. I'm on the show.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that, Kevin or Brandon?
I just think it's a interesting development, and maybe, like I always say, Yoda says, "When gone I am the last of the Jedi, will you be?" Maybe Cal's still alive, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not a Jedi anymore. Maybe he leaves the Jedi way behind him to embrace a larger view of the Force.
Sure. Moving on to
I do love his motivations though, and like it does make you think. Like it's just his motivations of wanting to get to that planet, thinking that could be his way out.
Yeah.
So
next question. Next question coming from Thomas HH. He asks, "As I'm neither a gamer nor a book reader, but would love to see the stories of especially the games of Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, do you think we'll get these stories in any video form and not just in book form?"
Got to send him in the 4 hour cut, dude. That's the way to watch it.
Well, I think what he's asking is, will we see like a Fallen Order or Survivor like series, or because there was that rumored,
Unlikely.
I don't think so.
Cal Kestis live action series that was rumored for a little bit. I don't think we'll see them have a series either. We could possibly see them as a comic book adaptation. They've done that with with the movies and the shows as well, because that Mandalorian has a comic book adaptation. But I don't know that we'll see them. I don't know that we'll get either these two games or even the third game as some sort of adaptation to live action. If you were gonna get these characters, Cal especially, it's gonna be another brand new story, because I think there's still so much more to do with Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis, and not go back and redo what's already been told in the games. Well, because they are great stories, and I think it would have been killer to see these on the big screen or on the TV screen. But I think if you're going to continue a story with Cal Kestis, make it a new story if you're going to do it in live action. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Who knows?
Yeah, they call it. It'll be a live action series. It could be called The Path.
It very much that'd be great, and maybe the third game deals with the path more. I don't know.
I hope so. That'd be dope.
Okay, next question from Prodigal Knight 777. He asks, "What other characters you think would benefit from having a Cal Kestis trilogy-style game series? My vote would be Ahsoka. Also, congrats, Kevin, on being added to the Jedi Way. Hope it doesn't mean you're leaving Scoundrels."
I'm here.
He's here. All right. What other character do you think could have like a video game trilogy of sorts.
Ahsoka
Says
would be
Ahsoka.
cool.
I think
Go ahead.
Ahsoka's great. Is a great answer, but
Yeah,
was
Ahsoka would be cool. The dual lightsaber aspect alone, kind of like Starkiller, but better
Oh,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna
Revan.
think like a developer would, and be like, all right, we got to do something revolutionary now. So I'm gonna say I would do like a you know those games where there's like two people, like Banjo Kazooie, where you can control one or the other. You switch it. It'd be cool to do a Baze Malbus and Chirrut Emwe
Oh,
thing, and but you have to like work together, so you're always controlling one or the other, and the other guy's kind of following you. And then if you get to like a cliff, and then like one person has a particular set of skills, but like has to get over the cliff, but then Baze has like the heavy gun, but like, and you have to like work in tandem, and or you could do dual player, like where two people can play together. So I would do that. That's a good question. Like, yeah, Ahsoka would be great too. So, what about you, Frank?
it's hard to pick a character that already exists to do this. Although I do think Ahsoka is a good answer. I think it's probably really the only one that you could come up with. I will say, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, Kevin, but you could do a Revan,
Oh, do it. I'd love it.
right? But
Mandalorian Wars, freaking Mandalorian Wars.
yeah, but
story.
here's the other thing, because most of us know, if you know the twist with Revan, it's how do you can't really do that again, can you?
No, it wouldn't be that.
Right?
You do a Revan story set, like you would do what like my prequel movie is gonna do, where we show the Mandalorian Wars.
Yeah.
Because you even hear about it in the Clone Wars show, like with the prison that Maul has, like we used to keep your captors like this. You have an epic story where you can control Revan or Malak, and you lead these like military campaigns. And it could like there could be parts of it where it is like like he was such a brilliant mind. Like one of the reasons Revan's so cool is like he's like he's like Anakin meets frickin' Thrawn. Like he was one of the things that Canderous always talked about, and that's the Mandalorian. He's like, the reason we lost isn't your ships or your men. It was the reasons of one man, Revan. Revan was so brilliant as a military leader, but also as a Jedi leader. That's how they won the war. So, dude, Revan, sign me up, man. That's awesome.
And then I think a fun one though would be to have like a Final Fantasy type of game, a Kingdom Hearts type of game with the Rebels crew, like where you could,
fun.
You go on like some like hit and run missions with the Ghost crew from Rebels. I think that would be pretty cool. You would have to, I don't know, like just it wouldn't be a trilogy of games. I don't think you could do a trilogy of games with that crew, but you could do like a one-off where you could have Kanan and Ezra and Hera and Zeb and Chopper and Sabine. I think, man, it'd be so fun if you had some type of game with those characters. It'll never happen, but I think it would have been cool.
Or a Pac-Man clone called Chopper, and you're Chopper in the middle of a maze. You have to collect all the data pads in order to clear the level.
Yeah.
Brandon would like that one.
One of our questions comes from Maddie Gunner, Snokums if you got 'ems podcast. He asked, "Is it in fact possible to be too emo?" I believe the answer is yes, because then you would be dead. No.
No.
Okay.
You get Kylo Ren. That's the peak.
Oh, there you go. I like that. That's good. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Kevin agrees.
I second, third it.
If you're too emo, then you become Kylo Ren.
You can be too emo.
Be
yeah,
too
you
emo.
actually be too emo.
Marv.
Our last question, well, second to last question, third to last question, comes from Darth Kid A, and she asked, "Does DDEC stand for Destroyed Extra Celestial?" That's a droid from Jedi Survivor, guys. Gotcha. And when is
the that, or she was smoking something?
DDEC can be seen in the Pyloon Saloon, mixing those sick beats, bro. After you beat the game, or depending when you run into. Anyways, also for when is the 24-hour stream or any other stream? Well, Darth Katie, I don't know about a 24-hour stream, but I think I might do a Jedi Survivor stream on Friday night. TBD, we'll see. And then she also asks, for anyone still playing or going to, I've noticed the lights on BD1's head show your health, so when it's hard to keep an eye on your health bar in battle, green is good, red not so much, and I think they blink when critical, They're blue during cutscenes. So, second question, any tips of your own regarding First Order or Survivor? Well, since I'm the one who's played the game... wait, Kevin, did you play Fallen Order?
No.
Okay. So, as the only person who's played the game, both games, I will say, in terms of Survivor, it really helped me out when I got the timing down for dodging attacks. That really, really helped me out. And also, you probably need to be more aggressive, especially with boss fights, than you would like to think, because when I was passive, that's when I would get in trouble and try and get a little too smart, a little too passive, and a little too tactical. Whereas the aggressive approach works. It worked for me, at least. All right, second to last question comes from Kevin Smeets.
Oh, I wrote that not thinking we were going to go over. Now I feel bad because Brandon has his heart out. So you should put Brandon on the right side of the screen in order to. Yes.
So the question asks, who's that awesome guy on the right side of the screen?
So put Brandon there because he's not watching. Yeah.
And then last question from Irdon5: will Thrawn die in the Mandoverse movie? Interesting question, Brandon.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, like, where else is he going to go? He's not part of the First Order.
Right.
So,
yeah. Will he die a hero or a villain?
Villain, bro. He's
Depends
a villain.
on your point of view.
Well, he's a villain, but the books, if you read the books, you're kind of rooting for him in the books. And some of his reasons for, I mean, yeah, he's thrown in with the wrong sort of crowd with the First Order or the Empire or whatnot, or with the Empire, but kind of for the reasons of saving his people. And I could see a scenario where his people, where the Empire is like, oh, now we're going to take over your people too. And then he's like, what the fuck? This isn't part of the deal. And then he would team up with our heroes and maybe die heroically. You never know. I mean, we've already talked about how many we haven't had that episode yet, but how many redemptions there are in Star Wars. But
well, I will say, I think he's going to die in that movie for sure, because like Brandon said, like what else are you going to do with him? Like, where's he going to go? Mm-hmm. Like, we can't have, in 35 years, we can't be like somehow Thrawn returned. We can't have another one of those.
Heir to the First Order guy.
Right.
Somehow Thrawn returned.
I do think he will die a villain, because he is a villain in this world. I know what he is in the books, but from Rebels, he's been a villain. And I think in Ahsoka, the show, he will be still a villain. And I think in the movie, presumably he's going to be in the movie. We don't know that for sure, actually, but you'd like to think he is. Yeah, he's gonna die in that movie. He'll die a villain, and that's my guess on it. That's my guess.
He's gonna die kissing Rey and then disappear, and then not show up as a Force ghost at the end.
Interesting,
right, Brandon?
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it for this week here on Scoundrels Inc. Make sure to hit that like button. Leave us a comment on what you thought about the Heir to the Empire line, or rumor, whatever. What do you thought about Freddie Prinze Jr. and everything he said? Curious what the rest of you out there think. Also, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It would really help us out. You can also just listen to us on our podcast feed on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcast from. And one last thing I was going to say something, but now I forgot.
Could I just complain about your hairstyle you picked for Cal Kestis? Like, how boring was that? Give him a mohawk or something. Yeah,
what?
Dude. Come on, give him the Anakin
the shaved sides.
No, shaved sides. Yeah, I got shaved sides.
The long hair?
I'm not cool. Look at me. I'm not cool.
Right, get out.
Right, Brandon? Brandon's on. You know what I'm talking about.
Get out of here.
Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.